Everything we've covered so far in this series stays inside your plant: belt feeders, loss in weight dosing. This one is different. This is the weighing system that decides what your customer gets billed, or what your supplier gets paid. Get a weighbridge wrong, and it's not a process upset, it's a commercial dispute. Let's open it up. A weighbridge is mechanically the simplest weighing system in this series and the most demanding electrically. It's just a rigid deck, steel plate or reinforced concrete, long enough to take a full truck, supported at multiple points around its perimeter. Typically 4 load cells for a shorter deck, 6 or 8 for a longer multi-axle deck. Every one of those load cells is a compression-type cell, the same physics from video 2, a Wheatstone bridge converting deflection into a millivolt signal. The difference here is scale. We're not talking about a few hundred kilograms on a weigh idler. We're talking 60, 80, sometimes over 100 tons distributed unevenly across the deck as a truck's axles roll on and off. Here's the part that trips up technicians who've only worked on single-cell applications. A weighbridge doesn't read one load cell, it sums all of them. As the truck moves across the deck, individual cells see wildly different loads at any given instant, depending on which axle is over which support point. The summing junction box adds every cell's millivolt output together, and it's that combined signal the indicator converts into a gross weight reading. This is exactly why cell matching matters as much here as it did on the loss in weight hopper in video 5. If one cell in the set has drifted or has a different rated output than the others, the sum comes out wrong, and it won't necessarily look wrong on a static test. It shows up as a load position dependent error, meaning the same truck weighs differently depending on exactly where it stops on the deck. Because the deck is a single rigid structure, how load is distributed across it matters. A truck stopped off-center, or straddling the deck unevenly, loads the nearest corner's cell more heavily than the others. This is called corner loading, and it's one of the most common real-world sources of weighbridge error, separate from any electronic fault. A well-designed and well-calibrated weighbridge should give the same total reading regardless of where the load sits on the deck, within its rated corner load tolerance. That's not automatic, it depends on deck rigidity, cell placement, and calibration that specifically accounts for corner loading, which is exactly what we'll cover in the next video. Quick historical note, because you'll still occasionally find these in older facilities. Mechanical weighbridges used a system of levers and a fulcrum to mechanically balance the load against a counterweight or a mechanical dial, no electronics at all. They were rugged, but they were slow to read, needed constant mechanical maintenance, and gave you no easy way to log or integrate the data anywhere. Nearly everything in active use today is electronic: load cells and a digital indicator, sometimes tied directly into a weighbridge software system for ticket printing, vehicle recognition, and data logging. If you're maintaining an older mechanical bridge, most of what we cover for the rest of this series won't directly apply to it, but if your plant has modernized, or you're specifying a new installation, this is the system you're working with. Trace the full path, same structure we've used all series. Load cells to junction box, summed signal to the weighbridge indicator, which converts it to a stable gross weight. From there, most modern installations feed that reading into weighbridge software running on a PC. This is what handles vehicle ID, tare weight lookup for a known truck, net weight calculation, and ticket printing. On a lot of plants, that software also pushes the transaction into an ERP or dispatch system automatically, so the weighbridge reading becomes a billing record without anyone retyping a number. Every link in that chain is a place accuracy or data integrity can be lost. And because this reading has commercial and sometimes legal weight, the standards for keeping this chain correct are tighter than anywhere else in this series. Every other weighing system in this series feeds an internal process. A weighbridge feeds an invoice. That's the fundamental difference, and it's why weighbridge is used for buying or selling material, dispatch, incoming raw material deliveries, or typically subject to legal metrology requirements. In most jurisdictions that means periodic certified calibration by an approved body, sealed adjustment points so nobody can quietly tweak the calibration, and traceable test weights. If your weighbridge feeds a customer invoice or a supplier payment, treat every fault on it as urgent, and never let anyone, including yourself under production pressure, apply an uncertified adjustment to correct a reading. That's exactly what the next video's calibration procedure exists to do properly. Quick recap. A weighbridge is 4 to 8 compression load cells summed under a rigid deck, reading gross truck weight electronically. The key risks are cell mismatch and corner loading, both position-dependent errors that won't show up on a simple static test. And what makes this different from everything else in the series? The number this system produces isn't just a process value, it's often a legally binding commercial record. In video 7, we calibrate one properly, certified test weights, corner load testing, and the legal metrology procedure that keeps your weighbridge defensible if a customer or supplier ever disputes a ticket. See you there.